You're listening to The Greater Loop, a podcast from the World Affairs Council of Greater Houston. In each episode, we bring to you leaders who connect Houston to the world, from business to diplomacy, innovation to impact. This is where global conversation begins. Let's get started.
Welcome to The Greater Loop, a global affairs program of the World Affairs Council of Greater Houston. My name is Marianne Maldonado, and today I'm joined by Bruce Miller, Vice President and Director of Government Affairs and Industry Affairs at SLB. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you, Marianne, and thank you to the World Affairs Council for doing this.
Well, we're so pleased you joined us today. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about what your day job encompasses.
Okay, so very happily. So as government affairs, it's kind of as it sounds. I spend a lot of my time, I'd say maybe 30 to 40% of my time in Washington, D.C., looking after our corporate interests in Washington. It's a bit of a different shift from what we've done in the past because we've had to get involved with the current legislation, starting with the IRA and moving now into the One Big Beautiful Bill regarding the new energy business that we stepped into 5 years ago that requires more action by SLB to kind of shape and mold the direction of our company when it comes to carbon sequestration and geothermal business and the lithium business and some adjacent businesses that we have aside from our typical 99-year history within oil and gas. So that's kind of the government piece that I look after. The industry piece is a little bit more of the core oil and gas sector type work, dealing with the executives within our industry, particularly here in Houston in the metro area.
Well, SLB, formerly Schlumberger, is a staple here in Houston. As you mentioned, 99 years. I hope you're going to have a big celebration for 100.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of things coming out very soon. We have a lot of events planned, a lot of recognition next year, and we're very excited about that. And of course, we just had the merger with ChampionX as well. I think the timing for that was right, and moving into 2026 is going to be very exciting for us.
So much is happening in and around the world. How do geopolitical shifts, how does that affect your strategy? How does it affect your team and your business?
Yeah, so we pay very close attention to, a lot of issues globally that affect us. Of course, SLB, we're a very large company, about 110,000 people globally in 120 different countries. And, I've had the experience of working in a lot of the regions that we're involved with for half of my career, actually. So in my role, I actually get to help shape and mold some of the responses, especially federal responses, whether it's, tariffs and other issues that we're looking after. It's part of my responsibility to help internationally as well as not just here in the United States.
And you're connected in so many ways, shapes, and forms throughout the world. What global trends are having the biggest impact do you see on the energy industry?
I think for us, one of the biggest trends, I think, over the last 10 years, but it's accelerating, is the automation of everything that we do. That has been a big push. Certainly, we've seen it in the drilling sector. We've seen it moving into, production and even fracturing of reservoirs. But it's affecting everything that we do. And it's obviously making things more efficient in our industry, not just for our company, but, it's a business. I mean, the digital business is a key pillar of our core. And we continue to move forward and advance that. And of course, the artificial intelligence, the AI is coming to fruition. We're seeing that more and more as a business opportunity for us.
You guys do so much globally. You mentioned 110,000 employees. That's stunning. Doing business in all these different places, tell us a little bit about the role of corporate diplomacy. I'm sure you have to play the diplomat in some of your relationship building.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of interesting, especially when international diplomats come to Houston. That's one of my roles and responsibilities here, is to receive them and to advocate for SLB here. We have here in Houston, we have a lot of industry events, whether it's Sarah Week and OTC and many others. I will be involved in that and going and meeting with whether it's ambassadors or people from chambers of commerce from other countries, I do get involved in that. And a lot of times our government officials are going to be there as well, whether it's Department of Energy or State Department or Commerce Department, whatever it be.
I'm so interested in kind of the bigger energy security problem or issue, challenge, let's call it. How is SLB looking at the energy security challenge and feeding into the solutions?
So for energy security, there's a large number of tools that as an industry we have at our disposal. We saw with the war with Ukraine and Russia over the past couple of years, it's brought that to the forefront. It's something that we didn't talk too much about perhaps in the past, but it really became clear with the breakout of the war in Eastern Europe. And, a company like ours, we're in most of these countries. And when you see an event like this, of course, there are sanctions and other things that are happening. We have to be very agile and, adapt very quickly. And as a company, we have a 99-year history of dealing with these issues. We've seen conflicts come and go over many, many decades. As an industry, we've also managed to step up to the plate, especially when it comes to natural gas and LNG and providing that for Europe in the face of the conflict.
Kind of aligned with that, what is SLB's participation in kind of climate goals?
So if you notice on our new logo for SLB, there's a little bit of a swish symbol underneath SLB, and that represents our net zero goal by 2050. And that net zero goal, you can actually see it crossing the zero level line and actually going into carbon negative. So that is our goal and our ambition as a company moving forward, is that we want to continue to push towards net zero and a sustainable future. And the advent of our new energy business, which I mentioned earlier with geothermal, which we've been involved with for many, many decades, but some of the new businesses that we have, whether it's critical minerals, carbon sequestration, hydrogen, and even power generation. These things are important to us, and I think they're important to our larger global community.
And if you had your wish, what would 5 or 10 years down the road at SLB look like?
Wow, that's a really great question. I would think that we would want to continue to move in the same direction that we're going. Obviously, eventually, I think our industry will transition towards perhaps a lower carbon future. There's a lot of debate about exactly when that happens, but I do see it eventually coming. And I think that a lot of the technologies that are coming both from SLB and others, I think will push us naturally in that direction. And I see a very positive future, especially pulling carbon out of our atmosphere and, for instance, sequestering that in the earth. I think it's an important step moving forward.
So Bruce, the World Affairs Council has an exciting education program where we deliver global affairs curriculum to high school kids. Tell us in 20 words or less how you would describe your work at SLB and SLB's amazing technologies to a 15-year-old.
So that's fantastic. I appreciate the question very much. Who we are, SLB, we're a global technology company. What we do, we drive energy innovation. And why? We want to do this for a more balanced planet. And that's what I would tell a 15-year-old. My kids are very well aware of this, and I believe that their friends are as well. And by the way, SLB, we spend a lot of time and effort with kids in education, particularly around STEM here in the Houston metro area. So I want to put a plug in for that work that we've been doing for many decades.
And I know you're heavily involved probably in recruiting. What do you look for from a prospect?
So we look for people that have, number one, a positive attitude and a positive outlook. Obviously, coming from a good background education-wise, we hire a lot of engineers in particular. I'm actually a geoscientist. I was a little bit of a strange one coming out of the University of Illinois, shout out, by the way. But we hire globally. We hire where we work. So I mentioned earlier the 120 countries that we work. We hire in all of those countries from the universities, the best universities typically in those countries.
Well, you've been a great supporter of the World Affairs Council, our educational programming. Thank you so much, Bruce. And again, it's been our pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Marianne, and thank you to the World Affairs Council.